3, 2, 1. Welcome to the David the Dog Trainer podcast, episode 201.
Over the hump.
To another, what did they say 100 years is? Is that a century or a decade?
Century.
Century.
Yeah.
Moving on to another century of the podcast.
Damn. We've been here 200 years.
200 years. It's been 200 years. What's happening?
I don't know. Been busy.
Yeah.
Yep. Shoots all over the municipality of Cleveland. Been also working at my buddy's record distribution. He had a huge pre-order for one of his clients. He's like,
Record distribution?
yeah, out at North Royalton. They're kind of like a Amazon for like independent artists, basically. They're kind of like a fulfillment center.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. They had like a 5,000 pre-order record thing they needed to get out, and they needed some help. So I've been doing that in between. My friend Alex giving me like 30 shoots. So it's been busy, but it's been great. And I shot a music video in between there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
When's that coming out?
I don't know. I got to edit it now.
You got to edit it?
Yeah.
Why are you editing it?
Yeah. I save some bucks.
There you go. Right.
We're penny pinching here.
Penny pinching. I like it.
Yeah. Anyway, how are you?
Well, working a gazillion shifts a week.
Yeah.
I was just explaining to Josh how we've hired a bunch of new people to fill some open roles we had as we've been shuffling people around a little bit.
Yeah.
And it has resulted in long days, we'll say.
Long days.
Long days. So I feel like it's Paige and I have made a conscious effort to try to film as much as we can, but it's been when I'm there just like grinding, right? Like get in, gotta train these 5 dogs over here, gotta help out with these daycare dogs over here, gotta assist with, doing a morning run or things like that. So it's the capacity my brain has had for being like, oh, what am I gonna film a video about today? And stuff like that has been tough. That being said, I was thinking about what we were gonna talk about today, and we just released a very interesting video the other day that I think is going to make some good conversation. So,
Okay.
So we've had this dog, Lily, that we've been working with lately. So Lily did a one-on-one program with us. She did it with Matt when Matt was here, and that was 2 years ago? 3 years ago? I want to say 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think closer to 3.
She came in for a one-on-one program to work exclusively on general reactivity and resource guarding issues. The resource guarding issues was the biggest thing because this dog was fucking crazy with the resource guarding issues.
Really?
Right? We have a video. I bet you I could pull this fucking video real quick here. Let's see.
Some of the reactivity.
No, dude, the resource guarding, it was crazy.
Really?
Hold on. Miracle Canine resource guarding. I'm going to give myself 2 minutes to find this real quick.
Okay.
When I say it was bad resource guarding, I mean this dog was going ham, fucking chasing down, her owner, trying to lunge up and bite and do all sorts of crazy shit like that. Here we go. Check this. Look at this.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Get that 10 weeks later. Look at this. Put that fucking bowl down. Look at that. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So resource guarding issues, not an issue, right? So here's the positive, right? Did the 10 session program. Resource guarding issue. He called me. He said, you know what? There's no resource guarding anymore, right? She's doing great with it. Her reactivity is pretty good. He said, I can't socialize her with other dogs though. He said, I literally, like, I don't, like, I'm just curious. He had been seeing a lot of the videos we had been posting of rehabbing, like, dog-on-dog aggression cases. And he was like, I'm really curious if this is something you could help me with. I'd love to be able to, like, help overcome these dog aggression issues, right? The dog has only ever socialized with one dog before. It was his aunt's dog, I believe. And they socialized fine for a long time, and then one day they got in a fight over something. I think it was over like a ball or something. They got in a huge fight, and then basically she was never around that dog ever again, and ever since, just really, really dog aggressive, right? So I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, we work with a ton of dog aggression cases. Like, it's not really, I mean, whatever. Yeah, we'll socialize the dog a little bit, right? Maybe the dog's, I don't know, acts out a little bit. We give it a correction or two.
For sure.
And, you know, we get past it, and, you know, we help the dog overcome the issues, right? So I was like, yeah, come on in for a session. We'll take a look at it. Brings her in, and I do the typical, okay, you know, you've heard me a million times break down, like, how do we introduce dogs to other dogs? All right, well, we have, you know, we have our social dogs that we use to test this new dog and their social status. So we put a muzzle on her. We had her e-collar on. We made sure we eliminated the resources, the food, the toys, the affection. We let him sniff through the gate for a minute, and then we let the other dog in, right? Yeah. Bro, this dog went so ham when we let this other dog in. It was like, it was insane, actually. Like, full on chase this dog around the fucking yard like 3 times. We were trying to correct her for it. She wasn't responding to the corrections like blowing through it, right? And then like finally we were able to stop her, right? Yeah. And then she just like laid down and like stayed in one spot the whole time and just like didn't move from it. And then she would like bottle up the emotion. We'd let another dog in. And then like 20 minutes later, she'd do the same fucking thing again. Just go ham. Like, and it wasn't like a little like, hey, get away from me, or hey, here's a couple bite attempts. It was full on trying to chase the other dog like around the entire yard that we were using. Like we had to go in and physically grab the dog and intervene. Yeah. So I was like, okay, this is going to be a little harder than I thought, right? And a lot of times, here's the thing, right? Most of these dogs are doing this out of fear, right? Like in her case, I would still bet that she is acting this aggressive, not because she's this dominant, confident dog or anything like that, but she's rehearsing this aggression because she's scared of other dogs still, right? So in cases like that, corrections are important, don't get me wrong, but really the dog needs to some extent realize the other dog isn't going away. We need to help them to kind of overcome these hurdles and start seeing dogs a little bit differently. And we need to start just like building on a little bit of success. Even if we get 20 minutes straight of no aggression outbursts, and then we get an outburst and we work through it, and then we get another 20 minutes, like we got to build on that, right? So so I follow my typical protocol of doing that with this dog. We do a whole session with it. I said, all right, come back next week. We do a whole session with it, right? All right, come back next week. Whole session of it. I want to say we did four or 5 sessions with this dog, right? First 2 go by, and I was like, it was like Groundhog Day every time. Like, we were getting nowhere with it, right? Like, it would be the same exact response every time initially. When she would have that outburst, she would, like, spook whatever dog we were using to the point where they would just, like, not try to engage at all. And then we would have this awkward, like, 30 minutes where, like, this dog's over here, this dog's over here. They're just avoiding each other. We're not getting anywhere with it. So I was like, you know what? I was like, these outbursts are just too intense, right? They're too intense. And it's not like she had a muzzle on. We're able to step in and intervene. She's not hurting the dogs, but like she's going so hard and so intense that like there's no stable enough dog that's going to like have that happen and then just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go try to interact with this dog.
This is cool.
That, right? So I was like, I need to be able to block this response a little bit. So I was like, okay, maybe the corrections are just like, it's clearly not inhibiting the behavior. Yeah. Maybe in this case, it's like, it's frustrating her more than anything. Yeah. Right. And, you know, it's just causing this like temporary shutdown, right? Until she has enough courage to like let out that big explosion again, right? Like I'm kind of like sitting there. I was like, I got to start playing with stuff here. Right?
Yeah.
So session 3 comes around. I'm like, all right, I was like, I never do on-leash greetings for the reasons we outline all the time, which is, they're restrained, they're more likely to start reacting. I was like, but like, I can't let her like go so hard on these other dogs like she is currently. Like, I've got to try something else. So I tried. I was like, let me get more dogs out. Let me let like 3 or 4 dogs out. Let them do their thing, and I'm going to walk her in on a leash. And I'm just basically going to block her anytime she tries to rehearse these crazy aggressive outbursts, right? And I'm going to see if we could, like, get some headway with, like, her letting these dogs sniff her a couple times, her realizing that the aggression isn't working, me not adding any extra stress or frustration by trying to be hard on her because it didn't really feel like that was accomplishing much either. Like, let me play with this a little bit. So we did that. We did 2 sessions of that. And same deal. Got absolutely fucking nowhere with it. Like literally got absolutely nowhere with it. Like really? She was, and you guys can see the YouTube video. Like she, and also in the YouTube video, when you watch it, you're seeing such a small fraction of the aggression, right? Because we cut a lot of it out, not because it, like we were correcting the dog really hard and didn't want to show it or anything, but like honestly, like when she was doing this like freak out and like chasing the dogs around and stuff, like it was so intense that I was like, people are going to see this and be like, why are you subjecting these other dogs to this? Right. Wow. Like it was gnarly, the aggression that was coming out of this dog. Right.
Wow.
So whatever. So we did that for 2 sessions, didn't get anywhere with it. I'm sitting there. I was like, I need some more time to work with this, right? I can't be doing this in like the sessions aren't getting anywhere. I told him, I was like, why don't you bring this dog in for daycare one day? I was like, I'm going to work with the dog all day and we'll see if we can find some sort of breakthroughs with it. I wanted to do a couple of things. I wanted to see, do we see a difference with the owner not here, right? Yeah. Can we maybe get some breakthroughs with that? Thing number 2, I wanted to see if I could, instead of just doing like 1 hour long burst, if I could do like 5 or 6 short bursts throughout the day. I want to see if I could see some more progress with that. 3, I wanted to be able to try a lot of different types of dogs, right? And I needed a day where I was going to have more access to dogs. So we did that. And then 4, I wanted to be able to try different variations of correction and like be comfortable enough to like experiment with that without like owners being like locked on and be like, oh, okay, like, okay, you're going to try this correction and it doesn't work. And you're going to try this correction. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to just be able to have the day to like no pressure on me to like perform in 1 hour's time and to be able to play with a lot of different things. Right. So we brought her out, obviously. I still knew I needed to start on the leash because I couldn't let her be pursuing these dogs around the yard like crazy, like trying to bite them and like go after them. And she's also like a big, strong dog too, right? So like once she goes, it's really hard to like get a handle on her and get her to stop. Even when she was reacting on a leash, dude, like you'll see in the video, I'm needing to really brace myself up because like she's strong. Yeah. Right. So we brought her out. I was like, okay, first tool I like playing around with when I have the opportunity to, if I need a more powerful correction, is the bonker, right? Talk about it a million times, right? Rolled up towel, you throw it at the dog, really startling to them for many dogs that are, really, really pain insensitive and like the e-collar just doesn't achieve what you want as far as corrections are concerned. This could be a really great tool for them, right? But as we've talked about a million times before, it doesn't look as nice. There's a lot of public perception issues with it. I don't really love doing it like smack in front of owners if I'm not fully confident that it's going to work. It's not that I want to hide it from owners, right? Like once I know it works with the dog, I explain the process to them. Like, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is why it works. It's not hurting the dog or anything, I'm totally cool with doing that, but I don't like going through the whole spiel and shtick of like explaining it to people and then trying it and it not working. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
Because like I've been in that boat before, then it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll try something else. I don't know, like,
maybe we should change the name. Maybe it's bonker.
The bonker.
Bonking, you know?
Bopping.
Bopping. There we go. Get the bopper out.
So got the bonker, right? Had her on a leash, brought her in, and like for the first like 5 minutes or so, Paige and I are kind of looking at each other and we're like, this is better, right? She was like looser. She was kind of sniffing. Like the dogs would sniff her, but like she would tense up a lot, but then she would like loosen and go back on her thing. And we're looking and we're like, okay, well maybe it was just the owner. I don't know. You know, maybe him being here was inhibiting her from being able to like flourish and like and grow with it, and there was too much pressure on the hour.
Yeah.
She was too stressed coming into the facility already before we went to introduce her to the other dogs. Like maybe it's that, right?
Yeah.
Then 4 minutes later, right, boom, she starts going off like she had been going off before, like going crazy.
Yeah.
Right. So very first time she does it, one really good fucking bonk, and it was like a light bulb flicked in her head, right? Like she like really responded to it, right? She stopped immediately. I was able to then walk her around after that. You could see clear, concise decision-making on her part, not to act aggressively. She was showing a little bit more avoidance. But the thing that was interesting was when I used that correction, I didn't see the same like shutdown, if you will, that I saw with the e-collar. And this is something that we've seen before with some dogs where if they've been so... I've talked about this before. You know what video it was is when I was working with Benny, the chocolate lab, another dog aggression case. When a lot of dogs have had a lot of e-collar training, sometimes they correlate the correction a little too strongly to doing something, right? So in her case, like doing a down, right?
Okay.
And what happens is in their mind, they're not getting corrected for the aggression. They're just getting negatively reinforced really, really strongly for not downing, right? So what winds up happening is they hold that down until they can't hold that down anymore, and then they launch again, and then you get back into that boat where you correct really hard, but like it's not strong enough to like break the aggression, but it's really strong in getting her into the down position, and it's this kind of weird gray area you wind up putting yourself in. So this, because it was like a totally novel new correction, and because it was so effective at stopping it right in the moment, I think it was the first time she was able to correlate the consequence directly to the reaction, right?
Yeah.
So whatever, proceeded to walk her around, had her on the leash. Like and at this point, I'm going out of my way to like work through and root out the rest of this aggression. So I'm taking her right by the other dogs, right? I'm walking her smack past them, right in front of them, right between two dogs. Other dogs started playing, which was a big trigger for her in the past sessions that we were seeing. And I needed to correct, I think maybe one more time after that. And then we had no fucking outbursts. Right. It was really, really cool to see. Right.
So two
corrections. Right.
Damn.
2 corrections in total. And it was interesting, though, because in the video, you'll see one of the things that I talked about a lot in it is I broke like all of my rules of socialization in it. Not all of them, but I broke a lot of the rules of socialization in it. Right. So one, obviously, I was doing it on a leash, and I explained the reasoning for that. Obviously, I needed to do it for just safety of all parties involved. Myself, her, the other dogs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even though she was muzzled, I needed to leash her for the safety purposes at that point. Now, how did I work through the potential issues that can come with that? I made sure that I let her dictate where she was going. I tried my best to stay loose on the leash the entire time so she wasn't feeling any stress and frustration. I negated a lot of those problems that way. Now, did she still know she was on a leash? Probably, right? And did that make it maybe slightly harder for her? Probably. But nonetheless, she still was able to work through it. It's like I use the example a lot. If you're out on your walk, we talk about not doing on-leash greetings, right? We do it to set the dog up for success, right? We do it because we know that it could make it a lot more challenging for a dog to socialize properly when they're on a leash. But if I'm out on a walk and randomly a dog does come up to my dog when they're on a leash, it's still not an excuse for my dog to like try to attack the other dog.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So I approached this situation from that regard of like, I'm not going to use her being on a leash as an excuse for her to act aggressively, right? I'm not going to use, this is where you get into, I was breaking some of the other rules. I was intentionally, like after I would correct her, she would kind of try to go do her own thing somewhere else, but I would intentionally take her back to the other dogs, which is something else that I tell people not to do with their dogs, right? Let the dog make the correct decision, let the dog go create space, right? But I wanted to make sure if I did need to walk her by these other dogs, same deal, that she wasn't going to act aggressively. Then I added in even another thing, right? I started actually interacting with her and the other dogs. I was petting them, right? While she was out, which again, resources. It's not that you shouldn't be able to pet a dog when another dog is out socializing, but like we know that can cause another level of competition into things, right? I wanted to make sure even in that circumstance that she knew that she wasn't able to react, right? And we were able to make a ton of progress with it. And it was really cool to see, like from the first sessions we did where we couldn't even get a foot past another dog, right? Or let alone 6 feet, past another dog without major aggressive responses out of this dog, to I was able to walk her wherever I needed to, put her around the other dogs, pet the other dogs, right? And have no aggressive outbursts. I mean, it was crazy how much progress we were able to make with it. So it was great. So we ended on that, and we sent her home, and she's going to come back to daycare, I think, on Friday. I think this Friday. And we're going to be able to do it again and see what we get with it.
Yeah. Has he seen her in...
Yeah, so when he picked her up, we sent her home, and we had actually just finished doing that last social with her. So Paige had her camera out and everything, and she showed him some of the videos and pictures and stuff of it. And he was like, damn, like that's fucking cool.
Especially compared to those first few sessions.
Dude, the first few were rough. I think it was 4 that we did.
Yeah.
They were rough because like it really was. It was one of the first time. We titled the YouTube video like... I don't know, it's not working on here. We titled the YouTube video like, "Is this our most challenging social?" Or no, the toughest aggression case we've ever had.
Yeah,
because it was just like, I for a little bit was like, I don't know how we're gonna get past this. It was the first time in a while I was like, I don't know how we're gonna get past this. And he even came to pick up. He's like, hey, like, what do I owe you, by the way? Because like I didn't charge him for those sessions, and I was like, dude, like I don't. If I'm ever really stumped with something, right, or I feel like we are really not making progress and I don't see just yet the light at the end of the tunnel, right, I don't charge people for that. I told him, I was like, this is just as much for me as it is for you and her. Yeah. This is a learning opportunity for me to see with a dog like this, what are some of the changes that I might need to make in order to start getting some progress with this. Yeah. So yeah, no, he was stoked, and it was really cool to see, and I'm very excited to do it again Friday and see what we get. Yeah,
see how much it has retained.
Because that's the biggest thing is it going to be like Groundhog Day again, and am I going to need to do all the same stuff again, or are we going to see a little bit of progress this time and see her come in a little bit different of a dog? And given that we ended how we ended, I'm really leaning into I think we're going to see a different dog here. Yeah, which is cool. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's really cool when you see that you have to take a different approach, but you see it work immediately. Yeah. Like, okay, e-collar's not working. This isn't working. So now I kind of break my own rules for a couple things, and that's how you get the breakthrough.
This is a reason why you guys have heard me talk about before. Like, I speak illy, if you will, about like people that do what I call like trainer hopping, right? Which is they like obsess over a certain trainer and emulate their style 100%, and they get good results with it because there's a lot of dogs that can fit into that exact cookie cutter mold with things. Yeah. But then you get that dog that doesn't fit as well into that system as you can, and you could look at each individual piece of what you're doing, and you could know where to bend or break rules because you understand why you put those things in place in the first place, right? Yep. So, like, for example, like, let's say there was somebody out there that was, like, a Miracle Canine trainer hopper, right? Like, they became obsessed with Miracle Canine and watched all of our YouTube videos. Yeah. And, like, tried to do their training exactly like we do the training, right? But didn't have all the knowledge of the why behind things. And they were following our rules of socialization, which is always off leash, no food, no toys, no affection, right? And correcting, using primarily the e-collar for aggressive outbursts, right? What would have happened is they would have done 5, 6, 7 sessions trying to do that. They would have never got anywhere with it because I didn't. I did 4 sessions. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't getting anywhere with it.
Yeah.
And then they would have been stumped, not knowing where to go from there. But I was able to look at the changes I made like incrementally in order. First thing was like adding the leash into it, right? Yeah, it's breaking a rule, but I know why I try to not have a leash in to avoid the restraint, right? The constant feeling of restraint. And I was able to do my best to negate those problems that come with having a leash on.
Yeah.
Again, staying as loose as I can on it. Even the way I was holding it, I talked about in the video how I was like penduluming around the dog. So I was able to stay loose. Yeah. And the reason why I didn't need to put tension on is because like, let's say, I don't know. Let's say this is me. This is the dog, right? Hold on. and this is the other dog I'm socializing the dog with, right? Okay. And so this is the dog I'm concerned is going to act aggressively. Yeah. It's sniffing this dog over here. If I'm standing right here, right, when this dog tries to inevitably lunge at the dog I'm socializing with, they could get all the way to that dog. I can't really block them effectively because like I've got too much leash then at that point, right? It's really hard to keep the situation safe. Where if this dog is sniffing around, me as the human, I could pendulum around with the dog. I can make sure that I'm loose on the leash, but the second this dog tries to lunge, it can't go anywhere, right? Yeah. Because it's going to hit the end of the leash as soon as it does because I'm holding it right here. The fulcrum, I think is the proper word, right? Yeah. For it is right here technically. Okay. Does that make sense? Did my little
yes
kind of make sense?
Yeah. You're able to stop it way before if you were kind of in the middle.
Yeah. The radius that they have, the total length of leash they have left if they were to lunge at that point is only like 3 inches as opposed to if you're in between, it's like could arguably be like 5 feet. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yep. So I'm able to do that as I'm working around, and I'm able to make sure I stay totally loose on the leash so the dog never feels restrained, but I'm achieving the safety of having the leash on still. Yeah. Right? So because I know these things, because I know how all of that stuff works, I could break those rules and still increase my chances of success then at that point. Yeah. Right? The type of correction, right? If you understand it's not about the e-collar, right? I'm going to give you another example here that's unrelated, right? All right. But related. I had a phone consult with somebody like a week ago that wants to sign their dog up for a board and train. It's like a 3-pound Pomeranian, right? Okay. They sent this dog to a board and train at like the local off-leash canine, which is a franchise. They sent the dog to a board and train, and 4 days into the program, they called the owner and they said, "We can't train this dog." And she was like, "What do you mean? Why can't you train the dog?" They were like, "The dog is too small for the e-collar." So we can't train the dog.
What the heck?
This is exactly what I'm talking about a trainer that doesn't understand why they use the e-collar. So when they run into an issue where hypothetically, maybe the dog is too small. I don't know. We worked with some fucking tiny dogs with e-collars before. I never run into problems. But maybe the dog is too small for whatever reason. Yeah. Right? They don't understand the principles of dog training enough to be like, okay, cool. Well, I'll just use a different tool. Right? Like they don't understand. That's like, actually, when I heard that, I was like, that's such a big problem that you think it's the e-collar that's training the dog. Right. Right. The e-collar is just a tool that creates an aversive sensation to like stop things or train things, depending on if you're using positive reinforcement or negative. Yeah. Or positive punishment or negative reinforcement. So it's like, just use a different tool that creates an aversive sensation if you need an aversive sensation for that, right? Like, so she called and like her and her husband were like very like concerned that they were like, well, what if the e-collar doesn't work with you guys? Like, what if you guys can't use e-collar with this dog? I was like, we'll do something else then. Like, we'll literally do something else, right? Because I understand the principles of why I add these tools into the mix. Yeah. I can make those adjustments with the dog in real time. Right. Right. And the fact that there's a trainer out there that's charging thousands of dollars that can't, with a fucking 2 or 3 pound dog, figure out a different way to train the dog without an e-collar. is kind of an issue.
And it's a franchise?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
But yeah, right?
It's a tool.
Like I'm able to understand and switch the type of correction I'm using because I understand how corrections work, right? I understand how aversive control works for things, right? And yes, you got to do some troubleshooting, as I did. But with that troubleshooting, you should be able to find solution.
Yeah.
Adding the affection in. I talk about not adding affection in. There are people out there that will hear that and just think, you could never add affection in. Well, that's not the case, right? You could add affection in. I pet my fucking dogs when they're out with each other, right?
Yeah.
But I understand it's a resource I need to control, right? Like if I was petting one of the other dogs and she tried to steal that resource, I would know I need to correct her for that, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you gotta understand your stuff to be able to troubleshoot and work through things. And I'm not sitting here saying I'm Mr. Oh Holy. Like I said, this dog had me a little stumped for a little bit.
Yeah.
But once I was able to take a step back and be like, okay, what's not working, right? Mm-hmm. What is it that isn't working that I need to make adjustments to? I was able to look at why I'm doing some of the things I do so that I can make those adjustments how I deemed were going to be the most necessary. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool that you like figured out like what using the e-collar in that moment kind of meant to the dog. That I need to lay down, or like I need to do this, like, and like the connection, like you said, like the light bulb moment, like wasn't there because the dog was kind of confused of like what was going on. Yeah.
So that is a big one right there that we'll see. And I want to make it clear that I don't think it's because of like poor e-collar training or anything.
No.
I think it's just like if 99.9% of the time the dog is getting corrected, we're trying to get them to do downs, it's like they're going to have a strong correlation with that. And the thing is, the reason why I think that was the case with this dog is because how the whole situation would play out is we would have the e-collar set high, right? The dog would go after the other dog. We would engage correction, right? So we would, obviously start correcting the dog, but the correction was not strong enough to immediately stop the aggression. So the dog would persist a little bit until finally that correction was like a little too much, and then they would slam into the down position, right? And then the pressure would turn off, right? So we were in turn negatively reinforcing the down because that's where the pressure was stopping, but it was only because it wasn't strong enough to stop right away when the dog's aggression started. Because if it was strong enough, what would have happened is the dog would have went after the other dog. We engage pressure, dog stops going after the other dog, pressure turns off immediately.
Yeah.
So they have this instant correlation between going after other dog, motivating enough consequence that makes me stop right away.
Yeah.
Right? But instead, dog goes after other dog. Correction that in the dog's mind is kind of just it's kind of just naggy in this moment happens. Continue going after dog, continue going after other dog, right? Then finally I lay down, pressure turns off, negatively reinforcing down.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Where with the bonker, it was I go after the other dog, no bonk, immediately stopping aggression.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah. Right? So the pressure was turning off when the aggression stopped as opposed to the pressure turning off mostly when the dog laid down then at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just make a way clearer picture because it got the dog's attention immediately.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So, and sometimes that will still work, right?
Yeah.
Going the route of the down because worst case scenario, or best case scenario maybe, is you strongly negatively reinforce the down. Then the dog is reinforced enough where they don't break that anymore, which means they in turn don't act aggressively anymore, which in turn means that other dogs are around them, sniffing them, being in the presence of them, playing around them. They're not going after the other dog, maybe because they're just in the down. And then segue to 199.5, ding, ding, ding. Prediction error occurs, right? Prediction error occurs.
Yep.
And the dog starts realizing, wait a minute, this thing I thought that was going to happen right now isn't happening, which makes the dog more comfortable. And then eventually the dog loosens up enough where they realize they don't need to be in the down, and then they get past it. You know what I mean? Like that is like the whole sequence of how that could hypothetically play out with some dogs. But in this case, it just didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't work that way.
Yeah, it just didn't click with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to get over we can't.
Yeah, that blew my mind when they told me that.
Yeah.
Kills me, man. Like, I could never imagine calling an owner and saying, sorry, I can't train your 3-pound dog because my e-collar doesn't work.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah. Also, I'm like sitting
that's
here.
nuts.
I'm like, I know you've trained Chihuahuas that were probably 2 pounds.
Yeah, I think probably what it was is if it's a really small dog, it's going to have a very small diameter of neck, and tack onto that is very fluffy. So it probably, even though the e-collar fits and the contact points are probably lined up where it can make contact with the neck, even though it's really thin, what probably happened is they weren't getting a good contact because of all the fur and stuff. It was too inconsistent, right? It very well may be not an ideal tool.
Yeah.
That's fine, though. That's literally fine.
Do something else.
We'll literally do something else. Like, the only reason why I think the e-collar is one of the best tools for owners. I genuinely believe that, and that's why we use them with all of the dogs that we can, which is 99.95% of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the only thing that I would say that I need the e-collar for, right? Like, it's non-optional to do it any other way than with the e-collar, is in situations where I truly want real off-leash reliability.
Yeah.
I don't feel safe telling people to have their dog off-leash in uncontained areas without an e-collar. Even though you can get your dog's recall pretty damn good, right? And you can get them pretty solid with some of this stuff. I don't feel safe telling people to do that.
Yeah.
So that's why I tend to avoid it. But I mean, what would we do? Okay, so David the dog trainer, what would you do if you couldn't use the e-collar with this dog? If you find that you can't use the e-collar with this dog? Well, I'll make sure I develop food drive with the dog because I need to lean a lot more heavily into positive reinforcement, which is fine. Then I need something to add aversives into. So if I'm stopping behaviors, I could use anything. I could use a small bonker. I could use a pet corrector. I could use a squirt bottle. I could use a leash pop on a pinch collar. You know what I mean? Like, there's a million things I could do to then obviously create the consequence for improper behavior. And then if I need to use negative reinforcement in order to train something like getting onto a bed or a recall or whatever it may be, I would probably just use steady pops on a pinch collar, right?
Yeah.
Like, you could do, like, let's say you're doing escape training with an e-collar. You're engaging pressure, getting a dog on a bed, releasing it so that they learn to get on and escape the pressure. You could do that with a pinch collar. And a lot of people, when they think doing escape training with a pinch collar, they think like pressure on, pressure off. Pressure on, pressure off, which the only downside to doing it that way, if you're trying to use that exclusively as your primary reinforcer, the only downside to doing that is you're kind of limited, especially with small dogs, with the intensity of the pressure you could apply. So sometimes it just isn't motivating enough in order for the dog to want to escape and avoid it, right? So you know what you do instead? You do pops, right? So I used to do this, and this is how, before I used e-collars, how we would do escape training, right? I'd walk up to a bed, I'd say, bed, pop, 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 off, right, when they hit the bed. And by popping as opposed to holding steady, you could increase the intensity of them to match whatever the motivation of the dog is, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same process, right? Doing a sit, pop, 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 butt hits the ground, off, right? Down, pop, 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 hit the ground, it's off. Right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, there's like literally a million ways to do escape and avoidance training that way. Like, it's the same thing, and that is the easiest way to do it. So,
Like, let's just take this really fluffy little tiny guy as an example. Like, just off the top of your head, what do you think would be like a good starting point for, a little bitty dog that might have so much floof?
well, I would have to look at, first and foremost, like, what is the dog even coming in for?
Yeah.
Right? I think, if I recall correctly, because I spoke with them last week, I think what they had said was the dog is it's a young dog. Like, nipping, biting.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Just kind of being a little bit of an asshole.
Yeah.
Not listening that well. Like, I'm just going to correct those things to start. I'll probably use a pet corrector or something like that, and I'll stop it. I'll get past it right away, and then from there we'll just it's a 3-pound dog, guys. Like, I don't know. I'll teach the basic commands with positive reinforcement, and then I'll add in a leash correction for non-compliance of them. Like, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's just going to be fine.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I would do.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, I feel like, especially like a little tiny dog like that, leash pressure, you got to be so like finesse with it.
Sometimes, like a lot of times people like, and this is where I'll hear people say, like when we do use e-collars with smaller dogs, they'll be like, oh, you need that e-collar or that pinch collar on that 5-pound dog. Guys, size of dog does not equate sensitivity to aversive.
Yeah.
Right? Like there are some that are more sensitive, but there are some that like, man, they need quite a bit more pressure in order to be motivated by it.
Yeah.
So it just depends. I mean, there are some like you could use a lot of leash pressure and they don't care that much about it.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
and I do remember some small dogs where they worked at a 40 or 50, and then there's some pit bulls. It's like you have it on a 3, and they think they're dying.
Yeah.
So
yeah, big time.
You're right.
It's just the physical sensitivity of the dog. I mean, it varies from dog to dog to dog. So
very true.
And I think of anything, some of these little guys, like man, they're so used to getting like rolled over on and like stepped on and shit. Like
they gotta have thick skin.
Yeah. Like they have like just way more thick skin. They've like built up this tolerance to it.
Yeah.
So
on top of their, what do we call it? Napoleon syndrome
the
or whatever.
Napoleon syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta act big and tough.
So that'll be interesting. That dog I'm pretty sure they're going to sign up.
Yeah.
So we'll train that dog. We'll see what we get. We'll see if we can use a fucking e-collar with it or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Guys, don't get stuck on your tools.
Yep.
Find alternative ways to train if you need to.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that doesn't mean let owners dictate what tools you use. That doesn't mean, because I can train with just a pinch collar, this owner doesn't want me to use an e-collar, so I'm going to use just a pinch collar instead. That's not at all what that means.
No.
It means if I literally can't use it for some reason, I have alternative ways to do it. But I'm still going to train in the way that I deem is the most effective.
Yes.
Right? Because some people will... I think I saw actually one of the only things I ever saw Gary Wilkes post that I was like, man, I don't agree with that. Is he said something along that lines of like, there's a lot of people that don't want to use e-collars and prong collars, and most of you trainers don't know how to use a head halter. So like, go learn how to use a head halter, because he swears by head halters. And I was like, no, like I'm not going to use a head halter just because a fucking owner doesn't want to use a pinch collar. Right?
Yeah.
Only time I've ever used a head halter, I got a dog I'm working with right now who the owner is getting stationed in Germany. She got to take the dog to Germany, and Germany has pinch collars outlawed, right? So we're switching the dog to a head halter because they're outlawed there. Wow. Only situation I've ever used one in.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is everything's just a tool. It's not that's not what's training. It's you. It's training.
It's not the tool. It's the tool.
Yeah.
That's what people say all the time.
It's not the tool, it's the tool. Cool.
So yeah, there's my story on the most aggressive dog we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
So go watch the video. We'll film the next one that we do this Friday also and post it. And we hope you guys like it.
Yeah. Be a good update.
Yeah. You got anything else?
No. This is the other problem. We talked for like an hour and a half before we came up here.
That's life.
That is life.
All right, guys. Catch you on the next one.
All right. See you.